questions that had to do with security and the menace of Boko Haram in Borno State.
The insurgent attack on the northeast have assumed a darker dimension, where defenseless citizens are being attacked overnight, in view of the fact that Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa are under the state of emergency. Does it mean that the present approach to solving the security challenges is not yielding results and maybe needs to re-strategize?
I agree with you that we are worried, Nigerians are worried, everybody is worried. Worried in the sense that you are not happy when you hear that people have been killed, not just one person, but the number that you read in the paper. So it's not as if we're not worried. And we are working very hard and we continue to work very hard. There are successes. Just that in this kind of a situation, you don't want to hear about any death. So nobody talks about the successes. But the negative ones are the issues. So it's not as if the security operatives are not working. And you know, and I know, everybody here know that the Boko Haram attacks started from Abuja. This massive bombing started from the UN building here. Then the police headquarters was bombed here in Abuja. The market was bombed here. And these places I visited started here. So if the security people have not been working hard, I don't think we'll have been moving freely in Abuja. So they've been able to push this to almost at the fringes. They were not too long ago, they came out close to around Maiduguri, and of course when they attacked the helicopters and so on. Well, that was the incident that so that they came quite close. But otherwise, it has been happening in the communities, in the mountainous areas, the border between Cameroon. That's why you read from the papers where they come and attack, they run back to Cameroon. So we are working with the Cameroon authorities. We are also changing our tactics, getting more things. It's quite worrisome, and that's why you pray that no country should get to where we are now in terms of terror. Look at Pakistan. They've been battling it. You pray that you don't get involved. So there are successes. Surely we'll get over it. Surely we'll get over it. Terrorists are difficult to deal with. Immediately a group of people get into terrorist tactics. They get brainwashed completely. They get linked up with other terror organizations globally. And their side, their orientation is changed. It was easy for us, in the case of the Niger Delta, for the negotiation to succeed. Because even as at that time, of course, for the days I was the deputy governor, when President Obama sent for the leaders, they would come here in Abuja. Some of them are even in the state house. Even I was a deputy governor in the SS state. Some of the militant leaders in the SS state, in the Niger Delta, that was here, that I met them one-on-one. Because they don't hide their identity. They tell you their grievances, rightly or wrongly. But they have something to tell you. So you can discuss, you can negotiate. But the terror all over the world is different. No rules of engagement. The Niger Delta militants don't go and just kill people anyhow. Even security operatives, they don't just see you on the road and kill except during confrontation. But here you go to a community, women and children that don't do anything. You just kill them. You go to a school where students are sleeping, you go and slaughter them. So the terror, the approach of terrorists all over the world is different. And immediately a group gets involved, they get brainwashed, and sometimes they now use false religious teachings, extremely false religious teachings that have no basis in any of the holy books to brainwash them. So they are more difficult to confront. So the dialogue team is still working. We still encourage them to work. But then we must also use the military option.
Except that some of the communities in the fringes, as you described them, are already beginning to feel that governments, both at state and federal level, and indeed the security forces, are not giving them enough protection. And you recall that last week, the governor of Borno State had a mild altercation with the presidency over motivation of the armed forces, the equipment of the armed forces, and all of that. And then there has also been this talk in the media in recent days about the possibility of the presidency appointing a military administrator for Borno State.
The issue of the communities being worried, even if I were them, I feel the same way. You don't blame them, but I promise that we will continue to improve. The communities naturally will feel that government isn't giving them the protection they deserve. I don't blame them, but we're improving on it. The issue of the governor of Borno State, the statement is a bit unfortunate. Of course, we don't expect a governor to make that kind of a statement. And maybe the governor of Borno State felt that the Nigerian armed forces are not useful. They should tell Nigerians, I'll pull them out from Borno State for 1 month. Whether you will stay in that government house. Just 1 month. But I'll fight back to take over the state. But if he thinks what he said is correct, then I'll pull out the military from Borno State for 1 month. But I'll go back and take over the state. The governor should be mindful about what he says. Yes, there are issues. We have no reason. So no matter how frustrated you are, you don't make those kind of statements. But the issue of appointment of military administrator, well, Goodluck Jonathan is not aware that the president of Nigeria is sending a military administrator to Borno State.
Mr. President, I'd like to move away from security to talk about power. All right, I'd love to talk about power. In your New Year message to Nigerians, you promised government will boost power transmission with the injection of about $1.5 million. And you also informed that your administration is working to make Nigerians enjoy a minimum of 18 hours electricity supply daily. And this is the 2nd month of the year. How feasible do you think your projection will be? Because power is really an issue that bothers everybody in Nigeria.
Goodluck, thank you. We have a common name, so. If you listen to me, I don't give figures. I hardly. These projections you are saying, I don't think it came from me. Because I've learned not to promise figures. I don't say that we'll stabilize or reasonably stable. These are the terms I use. But we've gone quite far. The key thing I told Nigerians is that by the time we conclude this privatization, then we have solved a major problem. The next thing is to go. And I used to say that, look, this interface between purely government control to purely private sector control, that transitional stage, to manage it, is not going to be easy. So we may expect some lapses. But immediately these lapses are settled out, and the generation and the distribution takes a life of its own, the private sector is completely in charge, then, of course, Nigerians will forget about the issue of power. I've never given figures. And they have tried even better than I anticipated. The only problem we have is that occasional deliberate sabotage, really using explosives to go and blast gas lines. Why? Ask yourself why. Because crude oil, you can say somebody can steal it to go and sell. But so far, nobody has been stealing gas. So if you go and blast and open up a gas line, what are you doing? Because Mr. President said he's going to provide power for Nigerians. So if you make sure that Nigerians don't get that power, the government will not be popular, full stop. But we'll still fight it, and we'll get over it.
Indeed, with this presidential media chat, President Jonathan once again tries to regain the confidence of Nigerians that his government is out to give credible leadership that can be tested and trusted. But that still rests on Nigerians to decide after watching this presidential media chat.